With Paige Bueckers and the UConn Huskies front and center this season in women's basketball, some fans are starting to question Geno Auriemma's coaching style and wondering if it's truly what's best for Paige. So let's jump into it. What's up, you guys? I'm DeMita and welcome to the Courtside Club. I am so excited because today is day one of the 12 days of Radmas, where we will be uploading 12 videos from now until Christmas Day. Also, you guys, 50% of the earnings that I make on these videos, I will be donating to animal shelters here in Texas. I will be donating food and supplies and things that are on their wish list during their holiday season. So honestly, any views, likes, comments, all of those things are greatly appreciated, and they will also be going to a great cause. So I hope that you guys enjoy these videos, and let's jump into today's. Paige Bueckers has been front and center in the women's basketball media landscape. There is so much hype around her, and a lot of people have a microscope on her and the UConn Huskies. A lot of people are expecting Paige to win her first national title this year with UConn before she does declare for the WNBA. However, with Paige being under a microscope, her coach Geno Auriemma, who honestly has been coaching you guys since the 80s, I believe. He was head coach at UConn when I was even going to college. This man has been around. He is arguably the greatest college basketball coach of all time, at least on the women's side. And so he is also under that spotlight. And recently, some fans were taken aback by some of the things that he had to say about his team and also specifically Paige. So they recently had a game against Holy Cross, which is a team that is unranked, is not really, shouldn't even be in the same stratosphere as UConn, but they hung in there, and Paige didn't have her greatest game. But here are some of the things that Geno had to say. He said, "We're a very immature team, so we can't. It's just hard for us to sustain something for 4 quarters, so we're going to have to be a lot better at that." Auriemma then praised Sarah Strong in her performance before being asked about the tough slate of games that they have ahead. 4 of their next 5 games are against ranked opponents. He said, "Well, we just played the number 5 team in the country, Holy Cross, so I don't know if we're going to be fazed at all by playing those teams that are really, really good. I mean, we just dominated the number 5 team in the country." He's being wildly sarcastic here. Holy Cross is not ranked and probably will not be ranked this season. He said, "So yeah, an effort like this against those teams and we won't be in the top 25. Holy Cross played in the first half like they were number 5 in the country, and we played like we were unranked, which may be the case come December 21. This was also the game where at halftime, the reporter was asking how he can get Paige involved, because I think she had 2 or 3 points going into halftime, and the game was a close game between UConn and Holy Cross. And he basically said, well, Paige just likes to stand around. She's not really aggressive and she's not going to go after the ball. So that's just what Paige likes to do. He kind of threw her under the bus. And a lot of fans are starting to notice that Geno says a lot of things to the media about his team, about his players, that are starting to rub certain people the wrong way. And it started to make me think about if Geno's coaching style is affecting Paige Bueckers and the trajectory of her career, and has maybe halted her a little bit in becoming the best player that she can possibly become. Because we look at a case like Hailey Van Lith, who had played for multiple teams, and now she is with TCU, and she is thriving like she was never able to before, when she was with LSU, when she was with Louisville, when she was with these other teams and in these other systems where she wasn't able to reach her full potential. And now we are seeing a whole new Hailey Van Lith. She is leading her team. She is putting up a ton of points. She had her first triple-double of her career, and she actually started crying when she realized that she did that. So she is finally able, seemingly, to play free and be not in a system, just be able to be a part of a team. And TCU is doing really, really well this season. And one of the things that Paige has been criticized for this season and in seasons past is her not being so aggressive on the offensive end, especially because of the fantastic skill set that she has. She doesn't necessarily have that kind of killer mentality. I don't know if killer mentality is the right thing. That unconscious mentality where she just goes after it every single time. She will kind of defer if she is being double teamed or if she's just not having a great game. game, she doesn't have an issue deferring to another player on her team. And that is where Sarah Strong has come into the picture. Now, Sarah Strong is a freshman at UConn. And funny enough, I actually got to watch Sarah Strong multiple times in her high school career because my boyfriend's younger sister, Auriemma Robertson, she is actually at Duke. She's injured this season, but she was, in the top 10, 15, 20 in her class. And so her and Sarah did play in a lot of games together. And so I actually got to see the both of them together. So I got to see Sarah's game, and her game has translated really, really well into the UConn system. And she has become a breakout star and a standout star for this UConn team. So even if we look at Sarah Strong's stats here, she is averaging 16.3 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 3.6 assists on the season. You guys, she is a freshman. She's 6'2". She's a bigger guard, but she really does it all. She's shooting from the outside, taking it to the rim, and she's playing with so much confidence. So in a game like this Holy Cross game, she had 22 points, 7 rebounds, and Paige, for example, she just had 11.7 rebounds, but again, she had those 3 points in the first half. And this is, again, not to compare these two or put Paige's game down at all, but this has been one thing that people have noted that maybe Paige could improve on a bit, is being more aggressive, just taking those opportunities. And if she is going to be face guarded or double teamed, like we saw, not to bring her into the mix, but we saw so much with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. If Paige is going to experience that same sort of pressure and defensive energy, she's going to have to figure out a way to create for herself, create openings for her team, and really get herself going, because she is going to be a key piece on this UConn team that they are definitely going to need if they want to win a championship before she goes to the WNBA. Now, I saw another interview with Geno, and he talked about this aspect of Paige's game and how she's actually obsessed with her efficiency. So here's what he had to say. He said the efficiency part is something she takes tremendous pride in. It drives her crazy when she hears all these players getting recognition that shoot 30% from the floor and take 25 shots every night. It's a point of pride for her, and I think it can get even better because there are days in practice where she's 75% from the floor and it's 55 to 60% from the three-point line. So there's a lot more there that she could give us. So let's talk about Geno for a second and his coaching style. He is not afraid to call out his players. And if he is calling out his players publicly, like he has done in interviews where he calls out Paige or where he calls the entire team immature, I can only imagine what he is saying to them in the locker room. And a part of me loves the fact that even if he is dead wrong, Geno stands on business. Even we talked about his wild Caitlin Clark take on how she wasn't going to translate to the WNBA. She was with the wrong team, all of these things. And it was probably the worst take of the entire season. One thing Geno is not going to do is he's not going to backtrack. And I do kind of respect him for that, even if he is dead wrong. He stands on his stuff. And I think that that's kind of the old school mentality with Geno. However, we are in a different era of basketball. When I was growing up playing, my coaches were ruthless. They were ruthless. They would say the wildest things to us. They would grab us by our jerseys and yell in our face. Like, there was a coach that we had who had literally the worst breath, and we were all just scared that he was going to grab our jersey and scream in our face because his breath was so bad. Like, that's how up close and personal some of my coaches were getting. They would say the wildest things. Like, they were mean. They were mean. It got under our skin. For me, it helped me to be such a tough individual, and I learned how to thrive off of that coaching style, and I do think it actually helped me. However, times are much different than they were when Geno started coaching. One, I don't think it's the greatest look for him to continue to say some of these things in the media, especially with the kind of spotlight that is on Paige right now. And I do think that some of the spotlight that's on her and some of the pressure that a lot of media people have put on her is unwarranted. I don't think it's fair. She's a great player, but I think all of the comparisons and things that we've heard and people trying to make her Caitlin Clark when she's not, some media people are trying so hard. I'm probably going to make an entire video about this, but to hear him saying stuff publicly, it also doesn't necessarily seem to be pushing the right buttons with Paige. Again, we don't know what's going on in the locker room, and they might have a great relationship. However, Paige is in the UConn system that has been been set in place since the 90s. There is a certain system of UConn basketball, and the players that come into that fit into that system, and you have to have a certain mindset, a certain skill set, a certain whatever. It is a well-oiled machine, and it has worked. It definitely has worked. They have a ton of championships, but until recently, they are starting their teams. Iowa beat them in the Final Four last season. South Carolina has been on a tear. We have LSU. Tennessee is back in the mix. We have Notre Dame coming up. Like, we have TCU. We have Duke. I'm going to call the two teams that Auriemma and Aaliyah are on. There are these great programs who are taking a new age style of basketball when it comes to coaching, when it comes to system, and it comes to how you're letting your players play, that maybe Geno does need to adapt a little bit. He will likely always have, as long as he's coaching, the greatest talent that is in women's basketball. And we've seen Stewie come out of there. We've seen Nafisa. Like, the list goes on and on. Maya Moore. The list of UConn stars are endless. He will always get that talent, but how he coaches that talent, how he, empowers that talent, how he finds the right buttons. Like, sometimes being so tough on a player, sometimes throwing them under the bus, sometimes doing all these things doesn't press the right buttons that you're hoping that it would. Paige is having a good season so far. I don't think it's her greatest performance or her greatest season so far, and she's struggled in a couple of these games, and I do hope that she finds a way to really have that star season that she deserves before she goes to the WNBA. But I want to move the spotlight a little bit and put some pressure on Geno to do the same, because it's not only his players that need to perform well to get this championship. I think that he might need to change his tune a little bit and adapt a little bit to the new age style of women's basketball. But you guys, of course, let me know what you think in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it, and click that little subscribe button, because we are uploading new videos every single day until Christmas. So make sure that you guys stay tuned for that, and I will see you tomorrow. Auriemma.